This is pretty interesting. Oh, it's the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer.
Okay, who's Kevin?
Kevin Federer.
Roger.
Roger.
I was so confused.
Kevin Federline.
I was like,
Yeah, maybe that's what I said.
Kevin.
Kevin Federline.
It's the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer. In 1994, Quentin Tarantino shot several different outtakes of the famous Christopher Walken scene for the movie Pulp Fiction. This is one of those outtakes.
Hello, little man. I sure have heard a lot about you. Yeah, I've got something for you. This samurai sword belonged to your great-grandfather, Calvin Coolidge. He purchased this sword in a little 5 and dime in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the very first company to ever make samurai swords in the United States. He strapped it onto his wrist. Up till that time, everybody put their samurai swords in their pocket. And he brought this sword with him over to France, fighting a war. WW1, they called it. And he wore this sword on his wrist every single day of that war. And he came back to your great-grandmother and took this sword, threw it in a coffee can, albeit a very large, very tall coffee can, and forgot about it. And then he gave it to your grandfather, Rita Coolidge. And your grandfather, he had this sword during WW2 against the Germans. Again, I hate those damn Germans. Even though he was in the Pacific fighting against the Japanese, I still have to express my hatred of the Germans. But he's fighting in the Pacific against Japanese, and he already had a sword. What did he need with 2 of them, you know? So he gave the sword to a gunner on a ship, because he was on an island. He was on an island called Kishimogawa, and he knew he wasn't going to leave. He wasn't going to get off that island alive, so he gave it to this guy he never met before, a man by the name of Takeni Shikawa, who was not Japanese, obviously, because if he was Japanese, they would have shot him. And this man he'd never met before in his life brought this sword back to your grandmother. And your grandmother gave this sword to your father. And your father had this sword with him when he was shot down over Hanoi. I was probably crammed into the cockpit somewhere of his F-14, I don't know. May have led to him being shot down in the first place. You know, it's awfully awkward to fly a jet when you have a samurai sword strapped to your wrist. But I spent over 5 years with your father in that hellhole in Hanoi. And as far as your father was concerned, this was your birthright. He'd be damned if he let some slimy paw touch your birthright and have it taken away. So he hid it, the only place where he knew they would never find it. You know, up where the sun doesn't shine very often, at least not in Hanoi. For 5 years, he had this uncomfortable hunk of metal up his nyahiha, and he finally died of ruptured bowel syndrome. But he made me promise to get the sword back to you, so, well, you understand, while I walk with a bit of a limp now, I kept that sword up there for over 2 years. And now, little man, I give the sword to you. I washed it thoroughly. I even used bleach. It's fine. You can't even, there's no smell. Take the damn sword.
It's the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer. It's the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer.
Advantage Federer. Goose. Advantage Federer. Timeout Nadal. Advantage Federer. Hey. Advantage Federer. Advantage Federer. Advantage Federer. Timeout Bingo. Advantage Federer. Rjmo. Advantage Federer.
Not yet.
It's got to be recording if you push the button.
Huh? Yeah. Okay, hit it. Cut it out. Quit it, you're scaring me now.
And now it's time for another crazy thing an animal would say if it could speak. I got my eye on you. 'Cause your face looks like shrimp. Join us next time for another crazy thing an animal would say if it could speak.
Time for sports talk with Step Weatherby. Swagger! What else can be said about the Super Bowl 45 winning Green Bay Packers, huh? I mean, Aaron Rodgers was phenomenal. Matthews was a beast. And they played quite the worthy adversary in the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? It was a great Super Bowl. I think the only thing left to do is, yeah, you know it, dance.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Jump, 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 jump.
That's enough of that. Well, call me a hoopster, but I gotta tell you, the NBA is getting pretty steamy these days. I mean, in the Eastern Conference, who'da thunk it? The Miami Heat are fighting with the Boston Celtics for that top spot there. I think in the championship, you're gonna see those two teams battling it out. Now, in the Western Conference, hey, I thought the Lakers were supposed to be running things, but we're talking about the San Antonio Spurs, they have several games ahead of the Lakers. The Lakers have to contend with other teams like Dallas and Oklahoma City as well, so who knows what's gonna go on in the Western Conference. Now, if you're gonna ask me who's gonna take the championship this year, I got one statement for you. Well, you can heat my Celts, but that's only going to spur my Lakers. It was funnier when I thought it up. And that was Sports Talk with Step Weatherby. I need more suits.
La la la. My head. Oh, look what somebody wrote in the sand. Oh, it's the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer. Hey, don't touch that. It might have a fish disease or something. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system.
Hello and good evening. I'm Christopher Walken with this important public service announcement. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. If this had been an actual emergency, you would have been instructed to take your head, put it between your legs, and kiss your yin-yang goodbye. This has only been a test. Don't panic. Of the emergency broadcast system. You know, in Queens, where I grew up, we had such tests, but we ignored them. We didn't pay any attention to it at all. And that's why Queens doesn't exist today, because we ignored the test. Don't ignore the damn test.
And that was a test of the emergency broadcast system, I think.
And now it's time for yet another crazy thing an animal would say if it could speak.
Oh, try as I might, I cannot blend in. No!
Tune in again for another crazy thing an animal would say if it could speak.
No!
This is Mr. Corn Pow. Mr. Corn Pow. That's him, Mr. Corn Pow. He is Mr. Corn Pow, traditionally known as Kapow, or Feng Shui-ness in the M. This is Roy Marqiuss. Get out of town.
Dude, you smell funny. You been smoking pot?
No, I haven't been smoking pot, but I use Can of Bliss, which makes me smell like I'm smoking pot, so people think I'm cool and rebellious, but really I'm not that stupid.
But dude, we got a meeting with the boss in like 5 minutes.
It'll be okay. Watch.
After looking over the third quarter statistics for the progress report, I do see some nice sales figures, and dude, you reek. Wait, wait, you're wearing Cannabis, are you? Wonderful. Yeah. You know, my mother gave me some of that for Christmas last year. I don't dare wear it because my father-in-law would probably stick me with a big knife. But I like the scent on you, young man. I'm gonna give you a raise and a promotion. Cannabis. Awesome.
Funky on me 2 times.
Rjmo Sixer.
We all love him. What he said.
Hardcore State Fair fans. All you gotta do is hook it and then push it and then bam! Like that, folks, like that. And then push it and then bam!
And that was the Illustrious Mayhem of Rjmo Sixer!
Kalamazoo, Michigan. You know, I'm just making up names now. I don't even know.
Just dude, we got a
Yeah, dude, we got.
But dude, we got a meeting with the boss in like 5 minutes.
That's good. Don't look at the watch that you don't have. But that's
My skin says 5 minutes.
Well, I'll just sum it up like this. Hey, you can heat up my Celtics, but
Let's watch the playback.
Yeah, I got it.
Ha!
It reminds me of the time I had a cat, and this cat was outside in the thunderstorm. And I thought it was very interesting that this cat would be out there trying to get in. And it would go meow, meow, meow. You see how it would change the inflection of what it was saying, the accent on the ow and then the accent on the me. It gave me inspiration for my acting career, so that now, many times, I'm even sometimes made fun of it. Sometimes people will even impersonate me doing this. I will put the accent on different syllables in a word, like chowder or chowder. It doesn't really matter what the word is. I'm really just talking now because, you know, the test is over. But I enjoy talking to you and being in your living room.
I want to touch it.